Frank Lampard's return to Chelsea as caretaker manager is the first one. Took me by surprise, I'll be honest. I've heard that James Corden's had a say in the appointment because he's friends with Todd Bowley. If so, then that's just ridiculous, isn't it? That there's that much influence at the club from somebody that knows nothing about football. And he's a West Ham fan as well. So that doesn't make any sense. But Frank Lampard's been given a second chance in the Chelsea dugout. Obviously, he wants to finish his tenure this time around on a high. The only high you can possibly get is beating Real Madrid in the Champions League, surely, because the league's gone. He's lost another game in his first game against Wolves. And it felt like same old Chelsea in some ways, didn't it? So why the hell is Frank Lampard back in the Chelsea dugout, Dave?
What you've just said there about James Corden, that is just ridiculous. I mean, the way the club's, it seems like it's been run and some of the decisions that are being made, you wouldn't actually rule it out, would you? It's all.
No,
it's
I was going to say at this point, I have to say it's not verified. I don't think so. But if it is true, you wouldn't be surprised.
Ironically, obviously James Corden, who's obviously a bad comedian at that, and some things, which is kind of what's going on at Chelsea. It's a bad comedy. So, yeah, for me, it's. I think this game as well against Wolves, they were possibly one of the worst opponents it could have been. Wolves are just a very resolute, well-structured team. You know, we're under the obviously guidance now of Lopetegui, who's a very experienced manager. I thought this game was all wrong for them. They've got a very good midfield, Wolves. The same again, really. It's just the lack of threat from Chelsea and the lack of structure. Some of the decisions that are being made, obviously for team selection, it's just so strange. And can you imagine being a player there at the minute? How confused you must be because of all the especially all the managers you've had at the point. You've got Lampard coming in as well. It must be so difficult as well. Obviously, a legend of the club coming in, and some of them obviously already played underneath him as well. So it's kind of deja vu in a way. A manager that obviously failed ultimately.
Yeah.
So it's the direction that they're going in. It's just crazy. I don't know what the end game is now.
It's worrying as well because they're not going to qualify for the Champions League. So for at least one season, they're going to be missing that revenue stream. And it doesn't look like they'll even get into Europe at all at this rate. So financially, I think
I've seen it.
Their next coach, whoever that may be, are they going to want to sort of take over a Chelsea team in this much disarray? Yes, they've got a talented team of players, a massive squad to trim down, though. That's the big issue. And no European football. So it's a difficult job, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing for me is, it's like you say, there's a big pool of talent in there to work with, but it's quite daunting in a way because there's that many players in there. You're walking into that situation, you kind of need a little bit of an experienced head who's going to come in, knows exactly what he wants to do with what players, and actually trim the squad down and get all of those players to actually follow in the right direction and do obviously what he wants them to do. Obviously, all the noise that came out about Potter, and it sounded like it was disrespected and in a way that's just not professional at all. Kind of actually shows you a lot of the character of some of those players that are at Chelsea that just probably shouldn't be there. So it is worrying. It's a real worrying time, and like you mentioned, you don't know how bad it's going to get. It's almost like, from what I've seen, a lot of Chelsea fans now, they've kind of zoned out, and their expectations are gone. They've kind of, the anger's almost gone as well because they've accepted how bad they've been.
The thing is, though, if you're going to go from Graham Potter, who was accused of not being good enough to manage, big personalities, high-profile players, that was held against him quite a lot, to Frank Lampard, who's already had a stab at it, has got no top-level experience other than that small, unsuccessful stint with Chelsea, and, nearly took Everton to the brink of relegation pretty much. He's not really any better than Graham Potter, so I think the only way I can kind of see this as being anything positive is that maybe it's a club legend coming in, could make people realise what playing for Chelsea is all about. He's won the Champions League with them, so maybe they're putting everything on the fact that he might be able to galvanise them for 2 games against Real Madrid. But other than that, I can't see why staying with Potter would have been any worse than having Frank Lampard at the helm. Where's the continuity? Where's the expectation? I feel like the Real Madrid game is probably going to be quite embarrassing for them at this rate.
I think the only explanation really for me is that there's no manager who is saying, yeah, I want to come in now and I want to start now immediately. Obviously, I know Nagelsmann's been spoken to, and there's rumours that Enrique's obviously spoken to the club as well. But if you're looking at the situation as it is now, would you really want to walk into that environment and the atmosphere that is probably so toxic? It's going to be difficult to manage whoever goes in. And let's be honest, it's not going to be a good season. What the chances of winning the Champions League, the way they're playing at the moment, let alone obviously the rest of the teams that are still in there, some very, very good teams who are far better than Chelsea. Chelsea are probably the worst team left in the competition in terms of form. Then you've got to say it's unrealistic, the chances of them winning the competition. And I just think they've accepted that now. I think they can see that this is a bit of a write-off.